Hey there, comic fans. I'm back from the comic shop again this week, and I got 6 new comics. 4 from my pull list, 2 I pulled off the shelf. I can also show you some library books I just got out, too, from some comics from the library. But first, we'll start with our museum piece of the week, and it's a Palookaville, issue number 8. That's from like the mid-90s, 96 maybe, I'm thinking. I don't even remember. But this is by the one named cartoonist Seth, who does Clyde Fans, one of my favorites, Good Life If You Don't Weaken. And it's funny because I really enjoyed having this cover out all week and looking at it. I like it a lot. Sort of melancholy look at it. I'm not even sure if it's melancholy or not. Sometimes it looks a little, sometimes it doesn't. This work is so dripping with nostalgia and melancholy sometimes that even sort of a neutral image like this of a guy just standing there selling his wares in the park can seem melancholy. But I really liked this cover, and it's funny because, I've had this issue for 25 years, but since it sits on a shelf all the time, I don't see it. So I didn't even really remember this cover until I pulled it out. So it's interesting how you can have a comic for that long and really not be that familiar with its cover. I've read the insides, man. I think this, like I said, I think this serializes "It's a Good Life If I Don't Weaken," which I read these days mostly in the collected volume. Though I have gone back and read the individual comics too, because they're bigger than the collected volume. But it was fun looking at that. I'll show you the first one I pulled off the shelf. Spawn's Universe, a $6, feels like a 60-page book. Jim Chung, main story. Brett Booth, gunslinger. Stefan Segovia, medieval Spawn. And Marcio Takara, she-Spawn. All script by Todd McFarlane, which means the writing's not going to be that good. I just felt like picking up this new Spawn #1. It's funny, as I picked it up, I felt a little burr at the end of it. That's because it's such a big... Probably all these big 60-page books get these burrs on the top and bottom because when you fold over that many pages, it just kind of bursts the seams. Not quite the seam, just the corners of the seam. But yeah, I'll give this one a read, see how it is. I like Jim Chung's art. That's mainly why I'm picking it up, because I like his art. Though I like Brett Booth's okay. But it's Spawn. We'll see how that is. I've been buying the regular Spawn issue for a few months now. I'm still not sure if I want to keep buying it, but it's a $3 book, so I feel like, it's the last of the $3 comics, so I feel like I should buy it for some reason. Then we got Vinyl #1, which I don't know anything about except I liked the cover. I can't remember if I read a preview of this. The art looks very much like Invincible when I flip through it. Who is this? This is Doug Wagner, the writer, Daniel Hilliard, the artist, Dave Stewart, the colorist, Ed Dukeshire, the letterer. But yeah, the art did remind me of Invincible when I flipped through it. Don't know what it's about, have no clue, just like the cover image, so I figured I'd give it a try. And now to the stuff that was on my pull list. We've got Manifest Destiny, number 44. Lewis and Clark Expedition fights monsters. It's ending at issue 50. The art's always nice. Writing's always good. Who is this? This is Chris Dingus, the writer, Matthew Roberts, the artist, Owen Gianni, the colorist, and Pat Brousseau, the letterer. I think they're getting close to the West Coast. I don't know. All sorts of disasters were happening last issue, so we'll see what happens this issue. I've been enjoying it for 43 issues, so I'm sure I'll enjoy the 44th. Then we've got Homesick Pilots, number 6. I've enjoyed the first 5 issues. It was kind of a punk rock band goes into a haunted house ghost story. Superpowers were to be had and stuff like that. And then it ended kind of weird with where all of a sudden the government wants to harness these ghostly powers. So now I think we're getting like a sort of government Harnessing Ghostly Powers series, which is completely different than the first one, which was kind of about music and ghosts and stuff. So we'll see how Homesick Pilots was the name of their band, by the way. Then we've got Bitter Root number 14. I've been enjoying this one. I only started this one with issue 8. Just jumped in the middle. A family of monster fighters in Harlem in the 20s, though it doesn't just take place in Harlem. It takes place all over. And, there was a word for it. I can't remember what it was. I was reading the article and back. It's, it sort of ties in racism and horror. And there was what was the word for it? I'm going to have to look at the other one. There was a word for this particular genre. And in this world, sort of hatred and racism creates literal monsters that feed off it. And a lot of those monsters have just invaded from another dimension. So the monster hunters are kind of lost the big battle. And there's lots of double page spread. It actually reminds me of early 90s storytelling with a lot of those, when a lot of the guys who wanted to do Image were doing a lot of this storytelling with double page spreads and splash pages and stuff, and there's a lot of that sort of storytelling going on here, and you don't see it that much anymore. So I've been finding this one very interesting. The artwork. Who's the artist again? Sanford Green. Yeah. David F. Walker, Chuck Brown, and Sanford Green creators. They have Sophie Dodgson, color artist, and Hassan Atsmane Elahu, letterer. Okay. And then we got the second issue of Bloom. I enjoyed the first issue of this one. The cover of the first issue was especially good. Not a very good splash page. But anyway, I think this takes place in the late 60s, early 70s. And it's about a guy who fixes cars by night and is working on his graphic novel by day. Fixes cars by day and is working on his graphic novel by night. In the early 70s, and he finds this woman who was with a band. I think she was a dancer, as he's using her as inspiration for the piece in the graphic novel. She's going to be the villain, but then she somehow started fooling around with him at the end of last issue, but he's got a girlfriend already, so we can see his life headed towards a wreck. We'll see what goes on in there. But I enjoyed the first issue. Hopefully I'll like the second issue. By the way, I really liked the Great Gatsby adaptation that I bought last week. That one went on my pull list. Let me show you a couple of things I got from the library. The first one is Luba. I actually took this out of the library in December 2019. And I really liked it. Of course, this is Gilbert Hernandez, one of the Love and Rockets guys. And it's this big, thick. It collects, I think, 3 books of Luba and her sister's story. And I put this on my wish list on Amazon. I was like, oh, I should have that one. I really like this book. I should have it. I should own it. But then I never quite bought it. And now it's out of print and the price is way high on it. So I went, you know what? I want to take it out of the library again. Why not? I'll keep it around for a month and then return it. Read some stories. And then I got Batman Hush, which I bought. I actually bought this, sold the issues a few years ago, back in 2002 and 2003 when it first came out, because I was just like, I haven't bought Batman in a while. Jim Lee's doing it. And my only memory of it was okay. Now that I'm rereading it 18 years later, it is so goofy. In the very first issue, Batman is chasing Catwoman with his, bat rope swinging around the city, and somebody cuts his rope. And what does he usually do when somebody cuts his rope? He gets another Batarang and saves himself. He doesn't save himself. He falls to the ground and nearly dies, and he falls in an alley filled with criminals. Of all the alleys to fall in, he falls in one filled with like a dozen criminals who want to kill him. He has to be rescued. And then he's in the hospital for months as Bruce Wayne, because that's like, from a fall, Batman, he doesn't have 2 ropes all of a sudden in this. And then there's this one goofy scene where the criminals try to take his mask off. And little jets of gas come out of his mask to keep the criminal from pulling his mask off. It's like, what? Batman has gas jets in his mask for just such a situation? I've forgotten how goofy this book is. And the opposite of that, being very ungoofy, is Paying the Land by Joe Sacco. I'm only about that far into it right now. But this one raises a lot of big issues, so there's a lot of serious stuff going on. Joe Sacco's a reporter cartoonist. Some really nice artwork. And he went up to the people, what are their name, who live in the Canadian Arctic, the Dene, D-E-N-E. They're the natives up there, and how fracking has affected them and drilling for oil has affected them, good and bad. There's not one... he's reporting, so they don't feel one way or the other. A lot of people are against the fracking up there. A lot of people are for it because it gets them jobs and money. So far this has been really interesting, but the complete opposite of Hush. Nothing goofy in this one. And then, let's see, these two might be the same thing. I just picked this one up today. I just ordered them. These are both Jonathan Hickman Avengers. I was just like, you know what? I never read any of these. Let's see how it is. Let's see. This collects 24 through 34. This is 24 through... So this one is in here. There was no reason to get this one out. Oh, well. But, you know, I'll check it out. And that's what's good about the library. You just order things, check them out. If you don't like them, you just return them. It doesn't matter. I don't have to like everything I check out of the library. That's what I like about checking things out of the library. I would never in a million years buy any of these Avengers, so we'll see how they are checking them out of the library. That would give you a little look at some artwork. I've just got this one underway. This is one of my canvases I just bought. You can see that's not a piece of paper, that's a canvas. And I bought these like a month ago, and I finally started one. But we started with a little sketch. That's the pencil sketch. Then I decided I wanted to do it in ink, so I blew it up and did the whole drawing in ink. And then I usually use a graphite transfer paper, which is just like it's a sheet of wax paper with graphite on it. So for my big ink drawings, so it's like, here's the graphite paper, you put whatever you want over here and you trace over the top and it moves the graphite onto the paper. It doesn't quite work with canvas. So instead I had to grid up the canvas, which, as you can see, I made a printout of it and with all numbers on there. And let me see if I can get you see the grid there. There's a pencil grid that I had to draw. And then, when I'm transferring the drawing, I just use all these little boxes for reference. So it's like, oh, where's that point? That's at 12, 13, 13, 14. And this is how, gridding things up is how they did things in a Renaissance, and probably long before that, too. But that's an old technique for making a small drawing bigger. So that's what I did here. And now I got to paint all I got in is the eyes so far. So, matter of fact, I ordered some paint from Jerry's Artorama, so I'll have new paint coming in too. Some new colors, a new brand that was on sale. But yeah, that's what hopefully I'll have that done by next week. We'll see. All right, there you go. Some comics, some artwork, and you guys have a good week out there.